What's up, my dudes? My name is Sister Turley, and this is the top 5 MX Simulator tracks. So this is a new video. I've never really done this before, doing a top 5 or a top 10 or anything like that. So I'm going to start doing some of these, and I think they'll be a lot of fun. So I've actually tried to pick top 5 MX Simulator tracks, which is nearly impossible to do. There's so many good tracks out there. So, I mean, I really needed to make like a top 50 MX Simulator tracks, you know what I'm saying? And I couldn't really do it. It was hard to narrow it down to 5, but I had to do it. So yeah, this is just the top 5 MX Simulator tracks of all time, and like I would say probably the 3rd, 4th, and 5th could be like 30 tracks out there. You know, they're all pretty equal, but I just try to narrow it down. But the top 1 and 2 on this list is pretty much solid, like no matter what. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. Number 5. NFMX Mud. This track right here, man, it totally opened my eyes to the stuff you could do with MX Simulator. I just never thought, when I first seen this track, I was like, no, dude, there's no way that's rain right there, and there's no way that's lightning in the background. No, I'm just seeing something. But no, believe it or not, there's actually rain and lightning in the background, and this is just one of those tracks that I'll remember forever, just because it's the first time I ever seen something this different. You know, stuff like this I never thought you could do in MX Simulator, and it was just an awesome time, you know, just to discover that, man, there's no limit to the stuff you can make on this game. So it was just a really cool track for that, and not to mention one of the best, or probably the best mud track out there, period, just because he managed to make it where the mud is tricky, but it's not so slick that you're just falling down everywhere, and that's super hard to do that, man. I mean, if you're not a track maker, you have no idea how hard it is to make the mud actually feel like normal mud, and but not be too difficult. You know, you want it to be difficult, but not just slipping down everywhere, so that's a really hard balance to find, but he did it perfectly on this track. And not to mention the ground actually looks kind of wet, slick, like it's been being rained on and stuff, and that's crazy. Everything comes together on this track, and he also has like water puddles on the track and everything. I don't know how you could get a better mud track than this one right here, so it had to make it on the list. And coming in at number 5, I mean, that just goes to show you how cool a lot of these tracks are. But when I say a top 5, a lot of it comes down to my own personal. I mean, you could obviously have a completely different top 5 list, and that's respectable and understandable. But for me, I look at it as my favorite tracks, but also like innovative, different vibe tracks. That's the thing I was kind of looking for this list, is just tracks that don't look like any other track out there and have a completely different feeling, and are made really well as well. So that's kind of what I look for in it. So, but yeah, this is it right here, NFMX Mud. So a very fun track, so many different lines, the roughness, and like I said, the way he made the mud probably will never be done this good again. Could be. Any of you guys out there making tracks, I dare you to make a mud track better than this one, because it's going to be tough, man. He did it pretty much perfect. I mean, you would have to... It's lacking a little bit off track, as you can see, pretty basic, but as far as on track, that's about as good as you can get when it comes to mud, and he's got all the water puddles and stuff. That's pretty amazing, dude. So, but yeah, that's why this track came in at number 5. So on to the next one. Number 4. So coming in at number 4, we have Gopher Dunes, and this track right here, another one of those just totally different vibe than any other track out there, and one of the best sand tracks I've ever seen in my entire life. Filling, but also like the looks of it and everything, just awesome track overall. And this is one of those tracks that it just belongs in MX Simulator. You know, if you have MX Simulator, you need this track right here, man. It's totally a fun, just different kind of track feeling. And this skybox right here, this was the first time I ever really seen a skybox that was this amazing, like the crazy colors and a really awesome look. So, and this track right here owns this skybox. Gopher Dunes owns this skybox right here, man. I mean, there's other tracks that have had the skybox and stuff, but when you look at the track where this skybox really belongs, it's Gopher Dunes. Every piece and part of the track makes it all come together and have its own feeling so different than any other track out there. So that's why I had to put Gopher Dunes on the list. And this is one of those that it's timeless, man. You could ride on this track 50 years from now and it would still be really cool. So I love this track for that, and I love the way the sand feels so much like sand, but it's not tricky sand. Like I said, he's perfectly found the balance between good sand and not too crazy deep or anything like that. And you're going to find a kind of a trend with some of these on these top 5 that I'll say, man, he's done the way the ground actually feels perfectly, whether it be mud or whether it be sand or whether it be hard packed dry or whatever. Like the way they've done it is about as good as you can possibly do it out there. You know, it's like when you think of how sand is supposed to feel, it's exactly like this. When you think of how mud is supposed to feel, it's exactly like the NFMX mud track. And it's awesome, man. It's like they've just finally found out how to do it perfectly, and I love this track. It's not too crazy rush, just the fun sand flowing vibe where you can just hold it down pretty much wide open in the corners, and not very many jumps either, and that's pretty crazy because I'm a jump lover, but this track did it so good that you really don't even need any jumps, man. It's just a fun track. So anyways, on to the next one. Number 3. So coming in at number 3, we have 20 Acre Creek MX, and this track right here is the kind of the perfect dry, slick kind of track I've ever rode on in my life. And like I was saying, I don't know how you would get it any better. It's the perfect look to a dry track, but also the way that he did the roughness on the track and everything is just, I don't know, man. It's just awesome. He done the little micro bumps and stuff, and the way he's made the ruts really small. It's just so much how a dry track would feel, and the way he's got the tile map, it's slick, but it's not like so slick that you can't even ride in the corners. So, but not to mention another crazy awesome skybox. That's going to be kind of a trend. All these on the top 5 are going to just have crazy, awesome, cool skyboxes because that's a big part of a track, man. That can totally change the way it feels and the way it looks and everything. So, but this track right here, I enjoyed it from the first day I ever seen it, man. I love this track. It's another one of those I could ride on it forever, and I don't know, man. It had to make it on the list. By the looks of it, it's just amazing, but I love the way that there's just not a better dry feeling track out there, in my opinion. I don't know, the way he's done the ruts, and I don't know, like he just knows exactly what dry tracks feel like, and it's just awesome, man. So, but yeah, the cool trees in the background, and then the width of this track is awesome too. It just feels so realistic. A lot of tracks, they just get it too wide, man, and it instantly loses that realism value. But this one right here, it's kind of like the track will be a little wider on the straightaways, and then in the corners, it kind of narrows down like a real track would. So, yeah, tons of fun. Not too many crazy jumps on this track, but there's enough on it that you're still jumping here and there. So but I just feel like this is an awesome, perfectly executed, well-made track right here. So I'll always love this track, and it's a lot of fun. Even though there's not a ton of different lines in the corners and stuff, that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be that dry feeling, and the way he's got the ground decal where it kind of looks like it's almost blue grooved or just super slick in certain spots, and that just makes it all come together and looks really great. So, and I love the off-track stuff, the little white little sticks and everything everywhere. That's cool. It's different from your standard just yellow sticks and whatnot. And then, yeah, just an awesome track. So on to number 2. Number 2. Off-season SX2, my dudes. This track right here, I know a lot of people would think I would put this number 1, but man, I wanted to so bad, but I couldn't because there's this other really awesome track out there. But off-season SX2, it's legendary. It's always going to be an awesome track, and I love this track, man. I don't think anybody has ever will do another fall vibe track that's as good as this one right here. I don't think it's ever going to be done because the way he's done the ground decal where it looks so different, and he's got the leaves integrated into the dirt, and all the different colored trees, and just the different look at between the whoops right here, like the darker dirt, man, that just makes the whole track come together like that. And I love the way this track is built as well. One of the best supercross built tracks out there. And a lot of times you would think when there's a series of tracks like off-season 1, off-season 2, you would think the original one would be really the best or whatever. But in this case, I feel like off-season SX2 is where it's at, man. It's legendary. It's hard to beat. And I still love off-season SX1, but it's hard to beat that off-season SX2, man. It's the whole like off-season feeling where it's not trying to be any kind of crazy amazing tracks. Kind of got that backyard vibe to it, and I just love this track for that, man. And I've loved it ever since the first time I got on it, and I'll always be able to come back to this track and be like, man, this is one of the greats. You know, I love this track. It's just tons of fun. So all the jumps are fun, all the rhythms make sense on this track, and everything looks great on it. So on to number 1, guys. Number 1. Number 1, Maressa MX Parker Brazil. So this is probably shocking a lot of you guys, but this is it right here, man. Number 1, I absolutely love this track. It's just so different than any other track out there completely. And the funny story is that, you know, when I first started making tracks, I made a lot of Hawaii filling tracks, you know, kind of the sunset, beachy with palm trees and whatnot. That I was making a lot of tracks like that, and I already had that idea in my head before I ever even started making tracks on MX Simulator. I already knew, like, man, wouldn't that be cool to have a Hawaii filling track? I just always wanted to make something totally different, and I already made a bunch of those Hawaii tracks before I ever even downloaded any community tracks or ever even seen this track. And it was just cool when I finally downloaded this track, and I was like, all right, cool, somebody else is feeling the vibe, you know what I'm saying? Somebody else knows what's going down. So it was just really cool because I finally found a track that was kind of what I had pictured for a long time, and it was just really cool. But it wasn't like I was trying to copy this track or anything. Like I said, I already had made a bunch of Hawaii tracks before I ever even downloaded any sort of community-made tracks or anything like that. And it's just cool because this track right here, it's more kind of like a Brazil kind of track, not so much just a straight up Hawaii vibe like a lot of my tracks are. I'm like literally trying to replicate a Hawaii track or something, but this, it's got its own feeling. It's I don't know, it doesn't have really the brownie mixed dirt. It's got more of a almost like a white and darker kind of sand vibe to it, so it's really cool. I love this track, and the skybox just absolutely makes this track right here with all the awesome looking mountains in the background and stuff. But it's just so cool, man. I love this track right here, and I always will. It's just so different, man. You'll never see tracks this different. It's just awesome when somebody makes something this cool, and I love the layout of it. I love all the jump sections and all the unique corners, and I love this section right here where you can just launch it down the hill, and you actually have to go through water right here. It's kind of like a flowing river. Looks really good on this track, and love the trees in the background and everything, and it's just right up my alley, man. I mean, what can you expect? It's Spencer Turley, so I mean, I'm gonna love a track like this, man. And I just love different tracks. Like I've always said, it's hard to beat something that no one else has ever made before because it's totally unique. So, and I love all the off-track stuff where it's nothing super high-tech, you know. You don't see any cars off in the distance. It's got kind of the simple little you know, tires in the corners and simple stuff like that, so it all makes sense. It all comes together that this is just kind of off in Brazil, something crazy cool. So that's number 1, and appreciate all of you watching these videos, and I'll keep on making them. Peace.